of Britain. The Britain you've heard about in story and song. The nation rich in heritage, where the past is written on the mellowed walls of its stately mansions. The Britain the tourist sees, a country of cornfield and briar roads. And through it all, woven together in a rich tapestry of tradition, is the pageantry of Britain, history come alive. And always, not far away, is the sea. For Britain is an island, a little speck on the globe, surrounded by the Atlantic, the North Sea, and the English Channel, part of Europe, and yet cut off from its neighbors. But there is another Britain that lies behind the one the tourist sees. This other Britain is not new. It has a history almost as old as the United States itself. Back in the 18th century, when British craftsmen were using their skill to serve an elegant society, the harnessing of steam power to the steam engine by that great Scotchman, James Watt, set in motion the modern industrial world and put Britain into the front rank of world manufacture and trade. Spurred by inventions and new fields to conquer, Britain showed the way with new processes, new materials, the exciting discovery of new alloys, the Bessemer process for making steel, and new techniques. The great Spidery Bridge, spanning the deep estuary of the Forth River, was completed back in 1890, and it's still going strong today. For 100 years and more, Britain's population has grown and grown in this tight little island. It would take 32 Britons to cover the United States. Her people, now 50 million of them, cannot live off the land, and food has to be imported and paid for from abroad. Today, the British farmer has set out to grow half as much again as he produced before 1939. Milk production has been increased by at least 40% over the pre-war figure. Ayrshire and Aberdeen Angus cattle, Red Devons and Jerseys are barnyard names wherever farmers gather. And prized British animals are exported to the ends of the earth. Research to improve stock and increase yields is going on all the time at world-famous stations like Rowett and Rothamsted and at the universities. For the problem of increasing still more the productivity of their land is one of the most urgent the British people face today. More than 5 times as much machinery is being used on British farms as before World War II, and the increasing use of combine harvesters, balers, and tractors has raised the output per man-year of each agricultural worker by almost 15%. Agriculture now uses some 48 million out of the 60 million acres of land in the British Isles. Every available plot of usable land is being put into production. Barren land is being reclaimed for sheep farming. And as a far-sighted investment for the future, trees are being planted. As a result of these efforts, 1.5 million farm workers are now able to feed not 1/3 as before the war, but 1/2 of Britain's population. High in the hierarchy of important workers who must be fed are Britain's coal miners, almost 700,000 of them. Cheap and abundant coal made Britain for 200 years the world's workshop. And then, in the years between the wars, this great industry went into a steep decline. To listen to some American criticism, you'd think that Britain's coal miners dug coal with toothpicks. More than half of Britain's mines are over 100 years old. her remaining coal lies at great depths. Most of it has to be hauled from pits that go down 3,000 feet below the surface. Most American coal comes from pits less than 500 feet deep. More than 1/4 of Britain's coal comes from seams less than 3 feet thick, while in America, such seams are rarely worked by underground methods. And if you think it's easy to hew coal under these conditions, just try swinging a pick on your knees underneath the dining room table. Britain's mines are not far behind us in mechanization. More than 80% of their coal is now mechanically cut. But the majority of British miners are still required to waste their energy walking miles to and from the coal face. And getting the coal back to the pit shaft is another big problem. Britain's mining engineers are pressing ahead with haulage improvements. But narrow roadways that twist and turn and dip cannot be readily adapted to take underground mine railways. However, new horizon mines are being sunk with straight and level roadways that run direct to the coal face. In her urgent need for coal, Britain has temporarily resorted to digging coal from near the surface, a method which we call strip mining. In Britain, where every acre is needed, the stripped land is not allowed to lie derelict. When the coal is taken out, the land is carefully put back into shape. But the long-term solution to Britain's coal problem is a new 15-year plan, the most exciting coal development in post-war Europe today, under which the British are reconstructing and modernizing their mines, a program that will cost the impressive sum of $1,800,000,000. More than 100 new coal preparation plants are now being built to overcome the problem of dirty coal, a major headache of the industry since 1938. When this tremendous development program is completed, Britain's mines will be the most modern in the world. For coal is the key to Britain's recovery. Her coal is electricity for her homes, her power for her factories. Without a continuous flow of coal, the rest of her industries would be as useless as a kitchen without water. Coal means iron and steel, Britain's basic manufacturing industry. Unlike the coal industry in the years between the wars, the steel industry kept reasonably well up on technological progress. Production records are broken almost as soon as new targets are announced. Output has been climbing steadily since the war's end, and the industry has made striking advances in efficiency and volume. Steel also has its plan for the future, a 5-year program of modernization and the building of new plants, the most inspiring of which is a mammoth new sheet steel mill being built in Wales, an enterprise that will extend for 4.5 miles, the largest steel mill in the world. The hot strip mill, 3/4 of a mile in length, will be equipped largely with American machinery made in Pittsburgh. And when it reaches full production, it will add an extra 1 million tons of hot strip steel per year, much of which will put new muscles on Britain's rearmament program. Increased steel production also means more goods, and more goods mean more of the exports which Britain must sell abroad in order to pay her way in the world. Exports of 1,001 items, from small articles to the raw materials she imports turns into finished goods and then sells abroad again. Cotton and then wool were the first industries transformed by the Industrial Revolution. Then, as with coal, came their decline. The textile trade went into a prolonged slump from which it has never recovered. Today, lovely woolens and luxury British fabrics are still supreme in the fashion centers of the world. In the meantime, new developments, like the up-to-the-minute nylon industry, are breathing new life into the old trade. When Britain's old and basic industries declined, she turned to new lines. The manufacturing industries are now the ones on which she mainly depends for her living. Before the last war, London was the center for insurance and banking services for which the rest of the world paid. Britain also earned money from the great wealth of her overseas investments. But the war finished all this, and when it was over, Britain was deep in the red. Today, British products are being sold to 180 different countries, a range from pins and needles to oil tankers. For these must now foot the bill for the food and the raw materials Britain needs, much of which can only be bought for dollars. The British, while deeply grateful for American aid, are determined to stand on their own feet and pay their own way in the world. In the drive for exports, vital though they are, the British have not sacrificed their traditional crafts. British workmanship is synonymous with quality, and into Britain's carefully handmade products go the skills and the secrets that have been handed down from father to son for generations. The quality of these old crafts has been carried over into the highly specialized field of precision engineering. Having pioneered the way with the invention of the jet engine, the British are now admittedly ahead of us in the application of jets to commercial airliners. Machine tools, precision gears, these are the crown jewels of the engineering trade. With them, the skilled British workmen of today fashion the product of their age as their forefathers fashioned the castles, the cathedrals, the country mansions of earlier days. Ships of all sizes, from fishing drifters to the Queen Elizabeth, the largest liner in the world. Finely constructed automobiles, built to last, tailored for taste. Bigger and better radar, which the British perfected. Power dams and turbines. The new Loch Sloy Dam is part of the most ambitious hydroelectric project ever completed in Britain. It is only one of 11 such schemes to send new power surging through the country and to bring a new life to isolated crofts in the Highlands of Scotland. Research for the future is constantly going on. At Harwell, main government atomic station, they face the challenge of putting atomic power into its peacetime harness. In every field, the scientists are setting the pace for industrial achievement.